We need vinyl reissues of these albums. I have pulled a stack of CDs that have either never gotten the sweet treatment of a vinyl reissue, or it's just been several years since there has been a vinyl reissue, and thus obtaining a copy is just not affordable, maybe not even possible. Hey guys and gals, it's Hannah the Omaha Introvert. If you are new here, it's great to have you on board to just like geek out over music, and if you're not new, I thank you so much for coming back. It does mean a lot to me. So I saw a video on this topic recently. John at the Digital Gramophone, and I'll leave a link down below to that video so you can check it out, but he picked out 5 CDs that he would like reissued to vinyl, and I just thought it was a great topic for discussion. And I've probably seen this idea floating around for at least a year or so by some other vinyl community channels, but now I'm jumping in with it. So let's just dive in. These are albums I picked out that I think are very deserving of a vinyl reissue. They're high quality in my humble opinion. So the first one, this is one of my favorite female artists. This is Amy Mann with her album I'm With Stupid. This has never been issued to vinyl, period. At least that's what I learned on Discogs. This one is a favorite of mine, hands down. So naturally I chose this one to get a vinyl reissue, but her whole back catalog needs a vinyl reissue, especially her albums from the 90s into the early 2000s. I vote for vinyl reissues of those. I think it was mentioned a few years ago that there could possibly be vinyl pressings of her albums in the works, but then we just kind of heard nothing further. So anyway, Amy Mann is a brilliant singer-songwriter. She's probably most recognized with her work in the Magnolia soundtrack, but this album came out in 1995 and it's just perfect alternative pop, like several catchy songs on here. Choice in the Matter, Super Ball. I love the tracks that Juliana Hatfield sings on. So yeah, I'm With Stupid by Amy Mann. Here's another gem from the 90s that simply never got the vinyl treatment. Just a CD out of this one. All of his other 90s albums were reissued to vinyl except this one. Why the hate? This is actually my favorite Matthew Sweet album, and I did a whole video review of it, kind of short, which I'll leave the link up above, but the melodies on this are outstanding. If you love Girlfriend and 100% Fun, but you haven't heard this, please, this is a masterpiece. It's Matthew Sweet's in reverse, by the way, if I did not mention that. It's just like crunchy power pop numbers with some contemplative tunes in there as well. Intervention Records, I'm talking to you. You guys reissued his other 90s album, so I think this one is well deserving of that as well. Let's not overlook that. We're going to the 80s next. Clan of Xymox, Medusa. I believe this is their second full-length album. I've had this for a while. This is a top record when it comes to this band, again, in my opinion. Those early albums are really in need of reissues, right? Louise Masquerade, Backdoor, Perfection. And with like a well-pressed reissue, damn, that would be really something. Oh, by the way, this is like 80s goth, cold wave, synthy. Love this band so much. This is Verbena with their first album, Souls for Sale, from 1997. They made 3 albums in total, and this one's my favorite. This is kind of like a blend between the Stones and Royal Trucks. This is so underrated. I would put this in my top 20 albums of the 90s. So there's like sludgy guitars, it's bluesy rock. There's just something so satisfying about Anne-Marie Griffin and Scott Bondy like singing together. And Scott Bondy, he now records under A.A. Bondy, but this is always a nostalgic listen for me. And I would love to see all of their albums reissued to vinyl, but especially this one. So this was on Merge. Please, oh please, Verbena reissues. I was just talking about Throwing Muses in my last video, but why have there not been any Throwing Muses vinyl reissues? So some of the originals are really pricey, but I'd love to see these 2 reissued. So The Real Ramona and University. I'm just going to leave it there because I did just talk about Throwing Muses in my last video, and I've really been on a listening kick with them in the last year with both CDs and a couple of original vinyl copies I've picked up. Tanya Donnelly and Kristen Hirsch, like what an awesome collaborative team. Oh, you guys, I don't think I've ever mentioned this band on my channel before. I should have covered them in my post-punk series. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But this band is Lowlife, and their albums are well overdue for a reissue. Several members of this band were actually in a psychobilly band prior. Will Hagee from the Cocteau Twins was a member of this band, if that tells you anything. And they had this like dreamy post-punk vibe. It's like dark and atmospheric, shimmering guitars, those vocals. I love like the layered type of sound they achieved. So their first EP and this album are on this CD, Permanent Sleep. And I recommend this, but we need it on vinyl. And then Diminuendo. Yeah, their second album. Originals are too expensive. I mean, look it up. It's crazy. So I briefly just mentioned Juliana Hatfield when I was talking about Amy Mann. So this is one I really want reissued to vinyl. American Laundromat Records, her label, has been reissuing some of her albums, plus Blake Baby's albums too. I think the next one coming out is Earwig, which is really exciting. I cannot wait for that, and they've been doing a great job. However, one of my favorite solo albums from her is Bed from 1998. And this actually might be in my top 3 albums by her. It definitely deserves the vinyl treatment. What I love about her is she can rock out, but she also has like a more folky side, so very versatile. Okay, I'm going to bring this one up because it was reissued for Record Store Day a few years back, maybe in like 2018 or so. That's actually the year I started seriously collecting vinyl, but I was reading reviews of that pressing, and apparently it's a horrendous pressing sound-wise. If you have it, let me know, but there's just like one copy for sale on Discogs for like $150. Harriet Wheeler's vocals are just so innocent and sweet. This is like a dreamy and jangly album from 1990. It's simply beautiful. Their Blind album also needs a reissue. Well, I'm trying to think, was that one reissued like on Music on Vinyl? I don't remember, but I mean, I don't have it, so I would love both. But let's get a vinyl reissue of that. So the sound, Jeopardy. You'll see a copy behind me. This is actually an unofficial pressing that I got from the Austin Record Convention a few years ago. I only found out it was an unofficial copy like when I got to the hotel after the show, but it was reissued in 2012 along with my copy of From the Lion's Mouth. I can't express how important this album is to post-punk and just to music in general. This groundbreaking album needs to be reissued again so that more people can hear how brilliant this album is. And you're gonna pay $80+ just for the 2012 reissue. I saw it at Grapefruit. But since this has been like 11 years since the reissue, we're due. And they're actually in my top 3 post-punk bands like of all time. So yeah, let's get a well done pressing of that. Moving right along to Bowery Electric. This is their self-titled album from 1995. Have you guys heard this? If you're a shoegaze or space rock lover, this would be in your wheelhouse. There's tons of like drony guitars. If you're into early slow dive, My Bloody Valentine, Jesus and Mary Chain, this is an album I really like to listen to on my headphones. Like, I just love getting lost in those guitars and spacing out. The song Slow Thrills, oh my god. It will leave your brain spinning. It is so good. Alright, so Hope Sandoval and the Warm Inventions with Bavarian Fruit Bread. First of all, I want to say thank you to JJ who sent me this over a year ago, and thank you so much for that, because in the Napster and Soulseek days, I had burned a copy of this album, but I had never owned it until JJ sent it to me. So Hope Sandoval, she was in Mazzy Star, if you are unaware, and we've been fortunate enough to get reissues of pretty much the whole Mazzy Star catalog, I believe, but why not Hope Sandoval and the Warm Inventions? Like, where are the reissues? Especially this one. Oh Lord. Like, this is a great album for any time of year. I especially associate this with summer or winter. And I know that sounds weird, but it's versatile for those seasons, I feel. And this has only been put on vinyl once, when it was originally released back in 2001. So if you go on Discogs, expect to shell out $200+ for this. Insane. Another fun fact about this, Bert Jansch contributes to like 2 songs with guitars, and the drummer from My Bloody Valentine is also on this record. It's super cool, right? So if you loved Mazzy Star, then transitioning to this should be no problem. This is like a lovely blend of folk, psych, it's very low-key. Her vocals are so mesmerizing. It's gorgeous. We're going into the shoegaze realm again with Drop 19s. This is their album Delaware, originally released in 1992. There hasn't been a vinyl release since then. Expect to pay over $200 for this as well. This is kind of like a divisive album within the shoegaze community. I read reviews that people either love it or dismiss it. Some say they took too much from My Bloody Valentine, which I happen to love that. I don't know. If you can get more of that sound and it's done right, my ears are happy. I don't complain, but is it a perfect album? Certainly not. I love the first 4 tracks and Angel. There is a good chance this will be reissued to vinyl, as the band has gotten back together and they recorded a new album. So fingers crossed that we will indeed get a vinyl reissue. Okay, this. Do I even need to talk about this again? Oh, that's right. You already know that I'm obsessed with this album, Jellyfish Spilt Milk. So I'm just showing this because it's so epic, and yeah, we need a reissue. A couple more just to quickly mention. I do have vinyl copies of these, but there haven't been reissues. So I have like a Canadian and a US copy. I love this album so much, and I'm sure most of you have it or have heard it, but Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, before they joined Fleetwood Mac, so that would have been, what, 1974. I know Stevie hates the cover of this, and there have been unofficial CDs put out there and so many unofficial vinyl versions, but I don't think it's officially been reissued since 1982. There is speculation that the master tapes are gone or something, and also Stevie and Lindsey, like, they aren't on the best of terms ever, so that's probably another reason that a legit reissue hasn't happened. This album is so precious to me. Stevie sounds so good. Like, the vocals were recorded excellently. Oh, my precious DBs. This is one of my top albums of all time, and I've spent so much time with this album. Power pop with some experimental sounds. I don't know. I feel like the Feelies catalog has been reissued, REM, so many other power pop and college rock albums of this era have gotten the reissue treatment, but why are the DBs being forgotten? So 2 years ago, we got this compilation over here that Propeller Records put out, which was a treat, but I would especially love to see their first 2 LPs reissued to vinyl, so Stands for Decibels and Repercussion. This is an original copy. It would just be wonderful if more people were exposed to the DBs. Alright, so that's my 2 cents. Those are the albums I would love to have a vinyl reissue of in the future. What albums on CD or otherwise would you like to see get a proper vinyl reissue in the future? Just let me know in the comments down below. I have more content coming soon, so make sure you don't miss out. Come back and hang out in the record room with me. Bye, you guys.